How does a country go from being completely, utterly bankrupt to a global military superpower in just a handful of years? I mean, it sounds impossible, right? It sounds like magic. And in the case of Nazi Germany, it really was a kind of dark economic magic, all orchestrated by one brilliant and, well, deeply controversial man. Just look at this number, 4.2 trillion. That's a 4, a 2, and then 11 zeros. It's a number that kind of breaks your brain, right? But back in 1923, this was a devastating reality for every single person in Germany, because that's how many German marks you needed to buy one single US dollar. Hyperinflation was so insane that people were literally burning stacks of cash just to stay warm. The money was actually cheaper than firewood. The government was printing notes for 100 trillion marks. It was a total, absolute economic collapse. And this right here is the central mystery we're unpacking. On one side, you have Germany in 1923, a nation in total ruins. Then, just 16 years later, you've got a military superpower with almost no unemployment parading brand new tanks through the streets. So the question is, how on earth did that happen? Well, to really get a grip on this so-called miracle, we first have to understand the disaster that came before it. After losing World War I, Germany's new government, the Weimar Republic, was basically buried under an impossible mountain of economic problems. They were facing three crushing burdens all at once. First, war reparations. They owed billions to the countries that won the war, and that drained all their gold and foreign cash. Second, a balance of payments crisis. See, they'd lost a bunch of their industrial areas and their whole shipping fleet, so they had to import way more than they could export. And third, on top of all that, they had a massive war debt owed to their own people. Their only solution? Just print more money. And that, of course, led directly to the crazy hyperinflation we just talked about. So, the country is on its knees. It's facing problems that seem completely unsolvable. And that's when a man steps out of the shadows, a figure who would come to be known by a very particular name. The Dark Wizard of International Finance. And look, this wasn't just some clever nickname. It really captured how people saw his economic policies. To the rest of the world, and even to a lot of Germans, what he was about to pull off looked like pure sorcery. His name was Hjalmar Schacht. Now, the really fascinating thing about Schacht is the contradiction at the heart of who he was. No doubt about it, he was a brilliant economist. But early in his career, he actually helped start a liberal, kind of left-leaning political party. The fact that this same guy would end up being the financial architect for Adolf Hitler, well, that's one of the great weird ironies of this whole story. So when Hitler came to power, he basically gave Schacht a to-do list: get rid of unemployment, rebuild the military, and fix the foreign currency crisis. Now, to do all this, Schacht didn't use a magic wand. Nope. He used a series of 6 deceptive and, let's just say, highly unorthodox economic tricks. And this was his playbook. Each of these steps was designed to solve one specific problem while hiding the true cost. This isn't the kind of stuff you learn in Econ 101. This was something else entirely. Let's start with the first and maybe the most audacious trick of them all. But to get it, you first need to know what a shell company is. It's basically a fake company. It's a front that you create to hide what you're really doing with your money. And Schacht? He created one of the most famous shell companies in history. He called it the MIFO company. This completely fake company started placing huge orders with arms manufacturers for tanks, planes, you name it. But instead of paying with cash, it paid them with these special IOUs called MIFO bills, which the government secretly guaranteed. What was really happening? The German government was racking up billions in secret debt to rearm the country, completely off the books and hidden from the rest of the world. And this secret spending spree worked. Unemployment just plummeted. But, of course, it created a brand new problem. With everyone working and making money, the demand for goods went through the roof. Normally, that would cause runaway inflation. But Schacht used his next 2 tricks, wage and price controls, to make any increases illegal. So what happens then? You get widespread shortages. I mean, think about it. If everyone has money to buy fish, but the price of fish isn't allowed to go up, the fish just vanish from the market almost instantly. That's exactly what happened with crucial stuff like steel and coal. So Schacht's solution was trick number 4, rationing. The government, not the free market, now decided who got what. And you can bet who was always first in line: the military. But all of this still needed imported raw materials, and that required foreign currency. the one thing Germany didn't have. So Schacht pulled out his fifth trick, selective default. He just announced to the world that Germany was going to stop paying back most of its foreign loans. It was an incredible gamble, but he was counting on the fact that with the whole world stuck in the Great Depression, nobody was lending out new money anyway. What are they going to do? His sixth and final trick was to basically seal Germany's financial borders. He slammed on strict capital controls, which meant you needed government permission for pretty much any foreign currency exchange. And this is where it gets really dark. As Jewish citizens were being forced to flee the country, these same laws were used to legally strip them of their life savings. All of that wealth was trapped inside Germany, which kept the banks from collapsing. So there you have it. The miracle was complete. Unemployment was basically gone, the military was rebuilt, and the economy was roaring back to life. But as you probably guessed, this miracle came at an enormous hidden price. This slide really shows the deal with the devil that German businesses made. On one hand, they got huge, guaranteed profit government contracts. But what they lost was everything else, all of their economic freedom. The Nazi state told them what to make, who to sell it to, what to pay their workers, and what prices to charge. They were just cogs in a machine they didn't control anymore. By 1936, you start to see cracks forming between the wizard and his master. See, Schacht had built this incredibly powerful economic engine, but he and Hitler had very, very different ideas about where they wanted to drive it. Schacht, you see, wanted to restore Germany's economic power. But Hitler, he only wanted one thing: war. He announced this 4-year plan to get Germany totally ready for conflict, and he put Hermann Göring in charge, sidelining Schacht. Schacht warned that this reckless pace would destroy the economy, and he resigned as minister. But Hitler didn't care. By early 1939, Schacht was fired completely, and just a few months later, that war machine he had built rolled right into Poland. But believe it or not, the story of Hjalmar Schacht doesn't end there. His final fate is maybe the most contradictory, most bizarre part of his entire life. I mean, just look at these ironies. They're absolutely staggering. He was Hitler's economics minister, but he ended up being tried for war crimes by the Allies. He was the architect of Germany's rearmament, but in 1944, the Gestapo arrested him for supposedly being part of a plot to kill Hitler, and he spent the rest of the war in a concentration camp. And after all that, he was acquitted at Nuremberg and died a free man working as a banking consultant. It's just wild. But in the end, his legacy is inescapable. Whatever his intentions were, or his falling out with Hitler, it's all just footnotes. Because the financial engine he so masterfully built was the very same one that powered the Nazi war machine. His magic directly enabled a global catastrophe. Which leaves us with a final, really haunting question. Schacht's brilliance was undeniable, but it was in service of a monstrous cause. So can we, or even should we, ever separate a person's genius from the moral consequences of their work?